Advertise your
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Monday, March 10th, 1:07 in the afternoon, and temperatures, get outside and enjoy it. We're in the 50s right now, pushing 60 degrees, but in the Northern Valley, temperatures are already dropping into the 30s, so that's a sharp cold front heading our way, Bridgette, and it's going to be in business. We will notice the winds picking up as we head throughout the afternoon as high wind warnings continue in effect. Although not windy right now, or not that windy, winds will really, really ramp up as we head into the afternoon.
Well, curious to see because at this point, it doesn't seem as bad as thought yet.
Right. Yeah, and I was saying the same thing. I said, well, boy, and even the Weather Service was commenting they were possibly tinkering with dropping the high wind warning. They have not as of yet, so we'll wait and see how that happens. But the winds will definitely pick up, though, as we head into the afternoon. And enjoy the mild day out there today with temperatures topping out from the 94 corridor southward into the low to mid 60s. A beautiful, beautiful day out there for this time of the year. We'll take it. And then temperatures will eventually slide off overnight tonight with lows dropping off to about 11 above. So we're going to go from the 60s to 11 above as we transition. We could see an isolated rain or snow shower, but nothing to worry about there. And winds will still be on the high side, 30 to 50 as we head into the evening hours, but then relaxing after midnight. And then as we head into tomorrow, a bit cooler with highs only in the 30s. Can't rule out an isolated rain or snow shower later in the day. And then we warm back up into the upper 40s for midweek. And then we're back into the low 60s for Thursday and Friday. A major storm system will be pulling out of the Rockies and into the central plains and then eventually the northern plains. Now, the track of this system, our computer models are similar, but even a slight shift in the track of this storm would make a huge difference for the valley in terms of moisture. The models are trying to pull this a little further east into Minnesota. Let's hope that's not the case because we definitely need the precipitation. And it looks like it will start out as rain and maybe even a few thunderstorms on Friday before changing over to snow, and that could be heavy Friday night into Saturday morning. So keep up to date on the forecast. There's a 40% chance this thing really doesn't affect us very hard. But if it does hit us like some of the models are forecasting, we could have near blizzard conditions on Saturday. So, and again, it very well could slide just east of us, at least in terms of the blizzard conditions. So something we'll be keeping an eye on, and we'll be keeping you up to date throughout the upcoming week.
I've been watching that over the last few days, and just depending on where you see it, you can see that Iowa looked like it was going to get blasted pretty hard. Maybe Minnesota kind of left us out, but then this morning I saw more indication that we are on the edge of some heavy snow, which be interesting to watch. I can't say we've had a huge all-out blizzard quite yet. What went through Iowa and those states last week, they're still cleaning out. I saw some pictures from their DOT over the weekend that they're still moving some snow.
Yeah, but the warm weather will help, and the rain. They're going to get quite a bit of rain down to our south. Great news for Iowa, southern Minnesota, those areas that have been pretty dry. They're going to be mainly rain with this, which is that's not a bad thing. That's good. Much needed moisture, and this is right on target with the LRC calendar. Last time this storm came through, I believe it brought us 3 to 4 inches of snow. And like we said, from mid-March onward, we're going to go into the stormier pattern of the LRC cycle. So we'll wait and see how many of these storms actually hit us, but at least we're getting in the stormier part of the cycle, and the models are showing that now as well. So that's good news. Let's get the moisture while we have the chance to, that's for sure.
All right, so many good things for people to be aware of. And first of all, never forget that anytime you want to call us, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line. That's 701-293-9000. You can find us weather or ag at flagfamily.com, and we hope you're busy watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Acres TV under Weather and Ag in Focus, WDAY. This kicks off the start of some giveaways and items because next week is National Ag Week. And one of the things that we want to do is give away a quilt. It's called the Farmer's Prayer. It's a handmade quilt. And I will make sure to be posting a picture of that not only on our Facebook page here shortly, but then also I'm going to make sure to add that picture to our live stream so you'll get to see it today. I'll send that over to you, Addison. And then lastly, you're going to be able to win that quilt by putting in nominations. You can nominate a farmer who you think is most deserving to win. We're going to then announce that winner on our show right here, Weather and Ag in Focus, on Friday, March 21st. Good news, all those nominations, you can start sending them in today. In fact, if you were to go to our website for WDAY, you would see the nomination link there. So we hope folks start looking for that. Love to have more and more people participating in this contest and giveaway, and there'll be so much more going on next week as we salute what farmers, agriculturalists, and ag producers do across our region. Also, I want to make sure that folks know that I'm still looking for interns for Weather and Ag in Focus, especially as we go through the summer months. If you have students who are sophomores in high school through sophomores in college, and they're looking to get more involved in broadcasting, ag media, etc., we have a fit for you. This month, I will have one of the North Dakota State FFA officers will be my intern. They'll be joining us here in a couple of weeks before the end of March, and then I'm already working on April. April might be a whole team event, you might say. Just having some conversations with an ag teacher about her ag communications class, and all of them helping to do a show. We just had that discussion here over the lunch hour. So much going on in the way of all sorts of agricultural news. A couple of things that came in just this morning that I want people to be aware of. Starting tomorrow, Tuesday, March 11th, Fargo Public Library is hosting Winds of Change, Local Agriculture Through Aerial Photos. So this is at 6 o'clock at the downtown main library. You have the opportunity to go in and listen to a discussion about what folks have seen as the changes have happened from the aerial photographs. Many of us who grew up on farms will recall the days in which you could hear an airplane fly overhead, and a couple days later someone would roll into the yard and say, "I took this picture of your farmstead. Would you like to buy it?" Personally, if you're out watching on the live stream, you can see right above my head one of those aerial pictures from my family farm is actually up there on my shelf. And so this is a way to examine the changes we've seen in geography, in farming habits and patterns, farmstead changes, buildings, and so much more. And again, if you're interested, that is free to the public tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 11th. It's at the Fargo Downtown Library. Also, wanted to make sure that as we hear more about governmental cuts and funding, a couple things came to my attention this morning. One of them is that here for North Dakota State Legislature, there are a proposed 3% cut to the NDSU extension budget. Extension here in North Dakota is actually really good. There's some states that would say their extension service is okay or non-existent. Here in North Dakota, we have a great extension service. We have specialists in all sorts of areas from livestock to consumer sciences, 4-H, as well as crop production. That 3% budget cut could come very deeply at a time when we still need those funds and those people with all the transitions that we are changing into with new farming tactics, as we want to see folks do a better job of profitability, and also making sure that we just simply help out some of our new farmers that are just getting started. And so if you have not yet had the opportunity to visit with your state legislator officials, please do talk to your representatives, your senators locally, and express your concern about the budget cuts that are proposed to the NDSU Extension Service. Federally speaking, a list came out late last week that DOGE is looking at terminating building leases for certain buildings around the U.S. for federal agencies. This may mean that they are going to renegotiate for a cheaper lease. Maybe folks are going to work from home, or there'll be offices combined with other agencies. How does that affect us here in North Dakota? On that proposed closure list of terminating the office leases, now again, not necessarily closing the office, but terminating the office lease and doing something different, would include Farm Service Agency in Fargo, the USDA APHIS, which is the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service in Bismarck, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Bismarck. So those changes may be coming as well. That is just a couple of the things. Dean, my desk is littered today with all sorts of stuff for
Well, it's a
us.
Monday. Of course, it's got to be.
So much,
Right. And
so much.
another
Um,
thing that Doge is cutting, and this hits a little closer to home here for me, is NOAA, which is a
mhm.
branch of the National Weather Service. They're in charge of National Weather Services offices. They're getting hit with about a 20% layoff rate. So that's not good news for certain aspects of research are going to be hit with that. How will it will affect the general public in terms of weather forecasting? A little too early to tell. Not sure exactly which departments are going to be cut most, but we're getting word of that today as well. So, not good news in terms of NOAA, but we'll keep a close eye on that and keep everybody updated as well.
Absolutely. And one of our listener comments is the only aerial photograph I'd ever want of my farm is from our great friends over at Boundary. And for those of you who remember our discussions with Nathan Filati, Boundary is a local business that if you wanted to take aerial photographs of your land and have them developed into play mats for kids, commemorative rugs for family members, and other items, you can do that. And that is Boundary with an I out on the internet, boundary.com. Our guest today, who's going to be joining us right after we hear the market report from the American Ag Network, and that will be Jordan Caldwell. He is in Indiana, and he does about everything. From a farm operation to recycling, asphalt, gravel. There's so much. I can't wait to talk to Jordan just to get his family story. And really, it goes all the way from just the early beginnings of what they had started to where they are now. And I think it's a great story to listen to. So we'll be back to talk to Jordan Caldwell after this. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. So glad to hear you're joining us today. And don't forget to go check out the quilt that we are now going to be giving away for National Ag Week next week. In fact, I just posted a picture of it on our Facebook page under Weather and Ag in Focus. Addison's got a photo of it that he'll show here in the live stream so that people can see what it looks like. Again, this is a handmade quilt. It is 5 feet by 7 feet, and it features a farmer's prayer.
That
All
is
nominations that you want to send can be sent to the link on our website. Yeah, it's very
That's
cool.
a super awesome looking quilt. Did you make it, Bridgette?
No,
Oh,
because I can make a really awesome pillowcase, but nowhere near a quilt.
that is amazing. I'm looking at that right now, and that'd
Yeah.
be really cool to have. It really would.
Well, remember this. I spent a lot more time in shop class than I ever did in home ec, so I don't think quilting is where I should
There you go.
find my talents, I'm afraid. Yeah. All right. So today our guest that joins us is Jordan Caldwell. And Jordan, I read a story about you in Farm Journal that just absolutely blew my mind because you have a great family history. Would you like to just start by outlining where y'all started out in Indiana and what you and will lead up to what you do now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me on here. So, my great grandfather was working at the Chrysler plant in Newcastle and found a farm that was for sale in Morristown, Indiana. And they bought it. They moved the family down there, and within the first growing season, they found out why it was so cheap. It was full of gravel. And back then, the counties would pay you to take care of the roads in front of your properties. So he found out real quick he had to do something else to help pay the loans on the farm. So he was using the gravel in the fields to maintain the county roads and help pay off his loans. He was still farming full time and was doing that every year, all year. And then when my grandfather went to war and came back, he actually learned at war how to make asphalt, cold mix and pug mix. So when he came back to my great grandfather, he said, "Hey, I'll stay here on the farm with you, but we've got to turn the gravel into an asphalt business and start making some money. And we'll do farming on the side instead of the other way around." And my great grandfather said, "Okay, let's do it." So my grandfather took a pug mix plant, portable pug mix plant, and went around to all the counties, and they hauled their own gravel to the county highway departments, and he would mix up cold mix for the highway street department as they made all the roads back in that time. And that went on for years and years. And then in the early 70s, an inspector came out to my grandfather and said, "Paul, what are you going to do with all these holes on your property?" And he said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, I'm telling you, all the county landfills around you are closing up. And this would be a perfect spot to put a landfill because you have all the clay that you need. You're away from everybody. There's not very many houses." And my grandfather thought about it over the weekend, and he knew all the county commissioners, and it wasn't hard to get a permit back then. And that's what he did. He filed for a landfill permit the next week. And the rest is history in the landfill business. My dad graduated from high school in the mid 70s, and he took on the landfill side of things. My uncle was in charge of the gravel and asphalt. And they grew both sides of those companies, and we still continued to farm row crop. And as we got bigger, we got into the trucking business, residential, commercial, roll-off business, and then we got into portalets, shredding. And fast forward to around 2005, that's when I came back from college, and I was running the hot mix plant and the gravel plants, and in the wintertime, we'd run the landfill, and everybody helped out on the farm also. And so I learned from the ground up, doing maintenance operations, you name it, we did it. And then in 2017, we ended up selling out to Advanced Disposal. And I was one of the part of the sellout was a family member had to stay on and transition employees and customers. And that was me. And I really didn't want to do it, but it needed to be done, and turned out to be the best thing that I ever did because I'd never worked for anybody else. So I got to learn what that was like. Also, the corporate mind frame of how they do business. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. And through that, I got to meet a lot of good people, good networking. and it actually helped me start my first business, which was semi trucking. I At the end of my 2-year agreement, they asked me what I was going to go do, and I said, "Well, I'm just going to go help with the family farm and figure out what's next." And they said, "Well, why don't you do our semi trucking?" And so I did. I went out and got a loan for 10 semis to start that way, and I immediately knew that I needed to create something to haul of my own. And one of my jobs when we were in the landfill business was special waste. And when I was selling special waste, um, this could be anywhere from food waste to anything that's in a tote or a barrel or liquid form. And I kept running into food manufacturers that needed a place for their material, but they didn't want to take it to the landfill. They wanted to take it to landfill free. And this was a big trend starting right in that 2013, 2014. It was just starting. And I realized then I was losing to composters and digesters, and it wasn't because of price. It was just because of concept. So that always intrigued me. And that was something that when we sold out, I told my dad, I said, I'm going to start a compost facility for a couple of different reasons. One, we can create our own fertilizer for our farm, but also create something that I can truck with my own trucks to keep me busy. So we're not relying on, one particular customer and then they leverage you and, make you go broke, which we've seen a million times around here. So that's exactly what I did. As soon as I left Advanced Disposal, I filed for an industrial compost facility. And then I found out real quick I needed to also depackage. So we were running trucks every day. I was cold calling customers for compost, and then everybody that I called said, "Well, do you have a depackaging facility?" And I said, "No, I don't." And they said, "Well, that's what you need first." So I kind of did it backwards. So I then filed for a depackaging facility permit, got that,
What
and
what does that mean, Jordan, when you say depackaging? Just literally
so
removing the plastic packaging and so forth on what you're composting?
yeah, in a nutshell. So the
Okay.
big part of our volume in our world comes from packaged food waste. So you go to the crafts of the world, you go to any food manufacturing facility, they've got rejects, they've got quality issues, maintenance issues, or just inventory issues. And this is where your big volume comes from. Like a bad sublot could be 50 to 100 loads. You never know. And that's really how I got my start in the depackaging world. Is I would take all the stuff that nobody else wanted. So the harder it is to depackage, these guys that were up and running forever, they didn't want to mess with it. They were full, so I would do it. And they wouldn't. They'd bring it in bad times in the middle of the night on the weekends, and I didn't have a choice. I didn't have any customers, so my answer was always yes. I'd hang up and say, "How am I going to do this?" And then I'd figure it out. So that's usually what happens. So we also have some of our depackaging customers are like the Walmarts, the Sam's Clubs, the Krogers, the stuff that doesn't sell at the store goes out the back
Okay.
door into a special container that's packaged, and then it's picked up by a route truck and then brought to our facility. We then depackage it and it'll go through a machine. Think of a large mill. This will go up a conveyor
Okay.
belt.
You're kind of telling the trade secret there, but hold on just a second, Jordan, because we need to catch up with our bottom of the hour news, but we want to pick right back up with when those, like you said, extra goodies come from box stores and you need to start changing them over for composting and so much more, because this is the part where, as a farmer, making your own compost, your own fertilizer is what excites us a lot too, to hear about that process. So stay tuned. We want to listen to the rest of the story with Jordan Caldwell when we return.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 1:35 in the afternoon, temperatures already in the upper 50s. And our special guest today, Jordan Caldwell. And Jordan, before we went to break, I know we hit on depackaging and other things, but you had mentioned earlier about composting and turning that into fertilizer. How we've had a couple of texts into the studio asking how exactly do you get that done?
Okay. Yeah. So kind of to take off where we left, when the packaged food waste comes into our depackaging plant, we run it through a machine. It presses the food and or liquids out of its packaging by a mill, and there's a screen underneath of it right there, as you can see in the picture. And then everything is pushed down into a pit, and then that pit is like a slurry, an organic slurry. So we will blend different materials. We'll have food drinks, we'll have, think of Twinkies, think of peanut butter, think of anything you could think of. We get molasses in, we get Gatorades in, all that. We'll make a mixed design because we want to balance, and we'll put it
Sure.
all in there. And then once it gets into the pit, we then pump it out with a vac truck, and it goes through a filtration system to get any leftover plastics, because that's our enemy. Once it's pumped out of the pit, it's then taken to our compost facility. And then when it gets to the compost facility, it's going to get dumped into a mixing pit. And then that's when the compost process is going to start. So we're going to, after the slurry is dumped in there, we're going to then mix it with horse manure, sawdust, corn shucklage, wood chips is kind of our mix. And we also use finished compost to blend in there too. So those items are then solidifying that liquid slurry into a solid. And then once it's a solid, we then take it out onto our compost pad. We have a 4-acre concrete compost pad, and we'll make a windrow out of it. And those windrows will stay out there for 6 to 8 weeks. And we will test those windrows every single day for heat. We're trying to keep it above 100 degrees, and we're trying to keep it below 160. And as long as we stay in there, it's cooking, it's composting. And if it goes below or above those degrees, the turner there in the picture, that's when we'll start turning it. We used to turn all the time, but as we've gotten smarter, we realized you don't have to turn as much. You want to be smart with it, and because when you turn, that's when your highest chance of odor is released up into the air, as you can see, the steam, and then you'll get odor complaints. So that's one way of helping control the odor. But those windrows, that windrow right there is probably 140, 150 degrees. And that's why he's turning it. So after that composting process, that 6 to 8 weeks on the pad, it's then going to get moved with a payloader to a different pad, and it'll be stored there for an additional 30 days. And that's called the curing period. So you got
Mhm.
6 to 8 weeks on the mixing pad, then you've got an additional 30 days to cure. And then after the curing period, you're then going to screen it. So a couple of reasons we're going to screen it is because there's big pieces of wood in there, and then we're also trying to get any plastics that didn't get caught in the process. So we have a machine that is a trommel screen, but it also has a vacuum system on the exit conveyor, that will pull out any other plastics that we didn't catch in the process. Once it's been screened, it gets put into this awning here, as you can see, and then it's ready to go out to the fields. And we put it on 100% of our ground. We put it on at a rate of about 5 ton an acre.
Uh-oh.
5 ton an acre. And then we'll step it down every year. So the next year we'll put it on at 4 ton, and then 3 ton, and then at 2 ton as a maintenance. But we've seen really good results with this. And probably one of the biggest results that we've seen through using this is it's full of organic matter. So that material right there in the building that you're looking at, it's probably around 48 to 50% organic matter. And that's really hard to find out there in the world of retail. and it's all natural. It's full of microbial activity. It's got NP and K. It's got micronutrients, major and secondary nutrients also. And it's allowed us, 5 years ago, we stair stepped our 28. We were all the way up to 220 units an acre, and we were producing around 220 bushel of corn. But when we started putting this material on there, I got the confidence to back down, and we've backed our nitrogen all the way down. This year we'll be below 170 units per acre, and we have not fallen off of that 220. We've actually gained through this
Wow.
process. So it's given us the confidence. I'm not saying we couldn't have not done it anyways, but we changed it 5 years ago. We changed to no-till, and 5 years ago we changed to cover crop. So we put triticale on 100% of our fields. So we're all in on this, and that's kind of our MO. It's been my dad's MO, my grandfather's MO. Whatever we're going to do it all in. And this is also transitioned to, we always put synthetic in furrow in. And I read about this machine called Core BioAg, and we are now making compost extract out of this compost, and we're putting it in furrow in our planter too. So we've cut out that 100%.
We have so many questions for you, Jordan. This is absolutely fabulous. Okay, so of the compost that you're building, are you strictly using that on your farm? Are you targeting other customers with it as well? Because over time, I can see quite an accumulation of volume.
Yep, good question. So the first 5 years, I wanted to know what I had. I wanted to know the mistakes. So we only put it on our farm fields for the first 5 years. This year was the first year that I sold some, a little, and it was just a little bit just to kind of get it out there. We have a waiting list of people, probably a 2-year waiting list. So we have a good problem. But it's, people have, and I tell people, if you're going to come by it, you got to come see the process, come see what I'm doing. And of course, everybody that wants it is around me. They see our product, they see our fields, they know it works. So it was funny when I first started, people made fun of me, and now they're sitting in my waiting list.
Jordan, you said you sell to farmers. Have there been any interest in any gardeners buying your product as well?
Yep.
Okay.
There is. We welcome that. We've got a couple of good friends, landscaping friends, that we help out with them. We're more into the bulk moving because we have so much, but definitely interested in that world too. I would say it's probably a secondary market for us.
Okay.
Wow.
I just heard you say bulk. So are you using your semis to haul out to fields? Who's doing the application for it? But I also heard you say that you're doing it almost like a tea, a liquid mixture as well. Am I correct in all of those things?
Yep, you're correct. So we also have a trucking company. We run about 80 trucks every single day. So that's where I'm interested in moving in bulk, right? To feed my trucks more work. So my trucks are bringing it inbound into the depackaging facility, and anything that we sell, my trucks move outbound too. We do have a spreading machine that we typically only spread for ourselves. The couple people that I've sold a little bit to, they have their own spreaders, so that's worked out nice too. They're my best salesmen, right? They're going out telling people that it's great and driving more business our way. But I'm more interested in a quality product that is going to sell itself.
So you've got the proof in your yields, and I heard you say that the compost also, you've got NP and K in it, etc. Have you done an analysis on it, or do you have to do an analysis on every batch, so to speak, to see if there's any differing in quality?
Yeah, good question. Yep, absolutely. So through our state regulation, we have to test everything that comes in to the facility, and we also have to test everything that goes out. So many sublots every single day. And then we have to store those samples on site too, to make sure that there's, we're testing for metals, VOCs, SVOCs, PCBs, things of that nature. We also want to know the pH. I want to know how much salt is in it. That's another thing.
Okay.
We can't have too much salt. I mean, think about it, right? All of our food, everything that we have has a ton of salt. So that
Yeah.
is an enemy of mine that we have to fight. And I don't know if you know this, but wheat straw will help salt. It'll bring it
Yeah,
down.
it does. Yep.
And so that's something that we've learned in the process.
Now,
Wow.
Jordan, I've got an email question from one of our listeners asking, ask Jordan if does he have a biology degree? How did he just learn this over the years?
Well, I can tell you for sure, I barely passed biology for
Okay.
a couple of different reasons. And I'm not blaming the teacher either. It was all me. But no,
Biology,
I
maybe
would
he
tell
meant
you
chemistry. Maybe he meant chemistry, but
it didn't matter either or.
okay.
But no, it was honestly, it was a lot of hard knocks. At the very beginning, I didn't do a very good job of studying. I just went into it face first. But then I started reading a lot. I started getting on YouTube and listening to what other people are doing. And then I just kept learning from my mistakes and finding people to talk to and learn from their mistakes too. And so it was a network of people.
That's great.
So, okay, another question here coming from me. As you are doing this, first of all, you are a family of risk takers. I don't know if there's anything that y'all haven't said, nope, we can't really do that, because every step you keep finding an opportunity. Is there a next thing that you're looking at doing? Because you're doing the composting, you're doing the digesters, you built the depackaging. Is there something else you just think you might get to, Jordan?
Yeah. So one thing that another company that spun off of this is my environmental company, where we actually go into the facilities like the food manufacturing facilities, and we do the industrial vac services. So we'll go in and clean the pits, the tanks, the ovens, you name it. And therefore, then they can bring that material into my compost facility and feed it. And we do hazardous waste hauling and things like lab packing, which generates different leads to come into our compost facility every single day. So I would tell you that would be the first thing that has happened on there, and one of many, many more.
Jordan, it has been so much fun to hear you from start to finish to tell your story. If people are curious about what you're doing, are you putting this on a blog anywhere or doing anything to follow along? Maybe even just your company website?
Yes, yep. So there's definitely information on the website. I'm not doing any blogging or anything like that, but I get phone calls probably every day, just asking questions of how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And I always tell people when they think they want to buy this material, it's you can't do it for 1 year and expect that's it. You got to be all in. You've got to go cover crop. You got to do a lot of those things, or it's not going to work, in my opinion. The soil samples on my fields, we don't have very good fields, dirt soil, but I've seen my organic matter raise anywhere from 0.3, 0.4 to 0.6, 0.7% in 1 year. That's what that organic matter is doing, and it's unlocking the natural nitrogen, the natural potassium, all the natural micronutrients. That's what this does for us, and that's what I encourage other people to look into, because it is the future.
Wow.
That's great.
Jordan, thank you. Thank you for dropping all this information. I think it's fantastic. And you have very busy days. So you took a little bit of time for us. I say thank you for that as well.
No doubt. And Jordan, do you sleep at all, or I mean?
I don't sleep very good.
Okay, man.
Arnold Schwarzenegger always said you only need 6 hours of sleep, and I'm a firm believer in that.
That's true. That is, as long as it's 6 good hours. But man, whew, boy, oh boy.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, Jordan. Much appreciated. And folks, don't go anywhere. We want to touch on headlines and recap the weather. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:55 in the afternoon. Hey, we set a record. We're at 59 degrees, and the old record was 58. And boy, I'll tell you, temperatures vary quite a bit across the FM area. Temperatures right now in Grafton, 33, yet right down the road in Grand Forks, it's 20 degrees warmer at 53. So some really cold air right up in the far northern valley along the U.S.-Canadian border. Temperatures right now in the 20s. So that's the cold air that's diving south, and we'll feel it by evening. It looks like the cold front's moving a little slower than anticipated, but it will be here probably around 3:30, between 3:30 and 5 o'clock this evening, and you'll notice it when it pushes through.
Well, I guess that just means there go my plans of evenings outdoors at this point, right? That's going to change quite a bit.
The winds are going to pick up. Yeah, if you've got any lawn furniture that I saw people laying out over the weekend, so trying to get an early tan. I'm like, wow, that's pushing it, but it was a nice weekend. And so if you've got your lawn chairs out, if you were out and laying out this weekend, might want to put those away or tie them down, because those winds are definitely going to ramp up as we head towards supper time.
Yeah, best of luck on your tanning options.
Right.
Nice work there, you guys. And now with potential storm coming, again, we want to make sure to announce that we are going to be celebrating National Ag Week next week. That is the heart of agriculture, and the opportunity for you to nominate your favorite farmers for a handmade quilt that we'll be giving away on this show next Friday, March 21st. We had a caller ask if it was just a North Dakota farmer. Nope, it can be a farmer from anywhere. We'll make sure that it gets to them. We don't want to pass by the chance that someone could be nominated who's very well deserving for this quilt. And the nomination link is on our website for both WDAY and Flag Family Media, so you can go right ahead and find that. That's 1100 a.m. The Flag, or 970 a.m. WDAY, so you can nominate your favorite people. For all of you who were enjoying last evening, thinking, your time schedule was a little off because of daylight savings time, whatever the case might be, maybe you caught something on Prairie Public last night called Tractor Wars. And the reason I really want to reference this is one of the historians that was part of that documentary, which was done by Iowa PBS, is a former guest of ours, and that would be Neil Dahlstrom. He is the historian for John Deere. And Neil talked about, along with several others, the start of how IH, International Harvester, for 40 years held the top market share in tractors. And John Deere was an implement company, and how those things changed, and the time frame of when the Ford Motor Company didn't like that Henry Ford wanted to become part of the tractor business. So he literally had to step down as being chairman of the Ford Motor Company to go pursue tractors. And many of those little Fords and tractors are a collectible item today. So if you haven't yet seen it, Tractor Wars was great fun to watch. I hope for those of you who did see it, you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was certainly worth it. Good fun.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And what else?
Remember.
Go ahead, Bridgette.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, just remember, anytime you've got questions, don't forget to give us a call on the JLA Insurance phone line. That's 701-293-9000. We look forward to hearing from you each and every show.
Absolutely, and keep it tuned here throughout the week, because again, a possible major snow event in terms of wind and snow coming in on Saturday. Not a guarantee, but something we're definitely keeping a very close eye on, and we'll update you throughout the week. So for Bridgette, myself, I want to thank you for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus. The Jay Thomas Show. It's coming up next.